The title of the book is Tom Lake, and it was written by Ann Patchett. She wrote this during the pandemic, actually.
I love that you research books before you tell them. I don't. You're like, who's the author? And I'm like, it was a lady.
Well, I listened to this one, actually, because Meryl Streep narrated it. And as Cameron in Modern Family says, Meryl Streep could play Batman and be the right choice. She did phenomenal. Oh, she did so good. So that's another reason I'm like, I don't know if I would have liked it as much if she wasn't narrating it. It starts out, and our main character is named Laura. She is growing up in Connecticut, I think. It starts out with her in high school. She's 16. She works with her grandmother at the sewing shop, so she's like really good at sewing. I think it's the 80s. Her and her best friend Veronica are setting up auditions and registration for the town play.
How come two high schoolers are in charge of the town play?
They're in charge of the registration.
Oh, okay.
So her grandma just kind of signed her up, like, go help with this play, they need your help.
What's the play?
I need to remember it.
Susical the Musical.
I know, right? I had never heard of it. I don't know if it's a real play. Only
Murders in the Building.
Oh. It's called Our Town. Okay, the play is called Our Town. The main characters are the stage manager, George is the main guy, Emily is the main character, and there's her dad. Like, it's this whole thing. So she's watching people audition after they've registered them all, and she's like, I wonder if I could do this better. Like,
oh,
she's like, I wonder.
Like the lead role?
Emily, yes, is the lead role. So Laura's sitting there and is like, I think I'm gonna go register. Like, I think I could do it. Because everyone's just kind of like mediocre. And so she registers, she auditions, and the director's like, yep, you're it. Like, she's like, okay, I guess I'm doing this. So she's typical stage of life where she's like, do I want to be a vet? Do I want to be, like, join the Peace Corps after I graduate? Like, what do I want to do with my life? She kind of gets thrown into acting. So this story time jumps. So it's her past story that she is telling her daughters.
Oh.
In 2020, they all came home because of the pandemic.
Is this at all any part of it based on a true story?
No, I don't think so. So her daughters are just super interested in her life, okay? And I'll tell you why. So they live in Michigan. She's married to a guy named Joe. They live in Michigan on a cherry tree and apple tree farm. It is so, like
you want to go pick cherries and apples.
Oh my gosh, it sounds so amazing. Her oldest daughter, Emily, went to school for agriculture.
So there's two Emilys in the story?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, Emily's just the character in the play.
Oh, okay. Oh.
That she plays, yes.
She connected with and named her daughter Emily.
Uh-huh.
I gotta stop.
There's a reason for all three of her daughters' names that you find out throughout the story.
I'll just let you tell me rather than trying to predict. This is fun for me. Now I know what you guys feel.
So her oldest daughter, Emily, wants to take over the farm. She's dating, like, the neighbor farm boy. She's very, like, I love this. This is what I want my life to be. Then there's Maisie. Maisie is a vet, or going, like, finishing school to be a vet.
Which is what Laura was considering.
Yeah.
Really.
And so when she tells her that, she's like, you wanted to be a vet? Like, that's so cool. I'm a vet.
Yeah.
So Maisie's awesome. Emily is, like, they kind of, like, are all super close. And then there's Emily, and they're like, we don't want to say anything to, like, make you mad at us. Like, she definitely went through the rebel phase of, I hate you all.
And is she just, like, the quintessential oldest sibling?
Yeah. And then Maisie isn't afraid of anything, and she's just...
I love that.
And then there's Nell is the youngest, and Laura says she's the most like her. She's just a little more timid, but she's also very the emotional, loving one. Like, feels like she can read minds. Like, she just knows what everybody needs all the time and is very loving and sweet, and she wants to be an actress. She starts telling them the story of her life and how she started into acting because there is this man called Peter Duke. Not Tom Lake.
I thought you were going to say Peter Douche.
Well, you're not far off in my opinion, but Peter Duke is this famous actor, okay? The girls grew up loving him. He did a lot of kids shows, and then he did more serious stuff and won an Oscar and all this stuff, okay? So when the girls are like 8, 10, and 12, they're watching this Popcorn King movie that he starred in, okay? And they're like, we love Peter Duke, we love this movie. Joe, the dad, walks in, and he's like, I still can't believe your mom dated him. And they're like, what? We didn't know this. They totally freak out. They're like, Mom, you dated him? Like, thinks she's so cool. And she's like, whoa, calm down. You're way too young for that story. Blah, 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 blah. Time comes. They're in their 20s. It's pandemic. They're at home. They're like, hey, Mom, no excuses. We're just picking cherries. You have to tell us the story. Start from the beginning. Tell us everything. So she starts at the beginning where she first is introduced to acting. So flashback, Laura is now going to college. She goes to school, and the school is putting on that same play, Our Town.
Uh-huh.
She's like, okay, well, I've played Emily before. Let me try it. Gets some cast, gets part of Emily, and someone is there in the theater who is a director, and he talks to her afterwards and is like, hey, I'm making a movie, and this was made for you. I've been looking for this part. I want you to fly to LA and audition. She's like, I've never left Connecticut. So he flies her out to LA a couple different times. She ends up making the movie and just learns a whole lot.
What?
Uh-huh. So she makes the whole movie, and she loves it, and she loves the director guy. His name's Ripley. He's super nice and respectful to her and everything. So, but there's a diva actress who's the real star of the show, who her schedule with other things and expectations or whatever is oh, I'm not doing that. So they need to recontract her and up her money. Yes. So it takes almost a year and a half, 2 years for it to be okay. So it's all filmed, but then in the editing process, so it's this movie, I don't know when it's gonna come out, but we made it. So her agent gets her different roles. She's in a couple episodes of a sitcom, or she's in commercials and different things like that. She ends up getting a job in New York because they don't need her in LA anymore. It's kind of paused, or maybe no. I think she's auditioning for Emily again on Broadway or something.
Cool.
So I think she's auditioning for that, but I don't remember their name. They're in it for this one scene. I don't know who they are, but anyways,
Sally,
he's like, Tony. Hey, don't be in this show. You should actually play Emily at Tom Lake.
Oh.
Okay, so Tom Lake.
Oh, this is not her hometown.
Right.
Oh.
Tom Lake is in Michigan. So at this point, she's never been to Michigan. And I picture Dirty Dancing vibes, where it's beautiful lake, really pretty trees all around, different cabin type places, and there's this big theater that everybody around goes to.
So why would somebody choose a small town vibe over Broadway?
I think she wasn't gonna get the part.
Oh.
And he said, you should play Emily here, because a lot of different agencies go and scout actors there. A lot of different opportunities come up. So she's like, all right, well, I mean, she's close with her family, but she's mostly close with her grandma. She's in her early 20s. She's like, okay, fine, another adventure. So she goes to Michigan and goes to Tom Lake and joins this show of Our Town again. So she gets into her room and is getting all settled, and a man is standing in her doorway.
Is this a dorm room type vibes?
It's kind of I don't know. It's I pictured it more like a camp, a Parent Trap type room. She has her own room, and it's a line of rooms, so kind of a more rustic hotel, I guess. Yeah, she has her own bathroom in the room, so yeah, it's not
It's not like he like broke into her house.
Right, yeah, her door is just open. And he's like, well, I'm sorry. Like, my name's Peter Duke. I'm just here to welcome you. I hear you're our new Emily. And is very handsome, very charming, okay? He's like, so do you know why it's called Tom Lake? And he tells her about how long ago this family, like kind of like Vanderbilt status, like super rich family, came here on vacation all the time. They had a little boy named Tom, and he was with his nanny, and he was asking her, who owns that? Who owns that? And she said, your daddy. And he said, who owns the lake? And she's like, I don't know who owns the lake. Tom owns the lake. So it became this family thing. Tom's Lake turned into Tom Lake. Now,
I thought you were gonna say he died in the lake.
No.
I really
Thankfully.
thought that's where this was going.
This book I would not like this book as much if that was what's happening.
That's a way cuter story.
Yeah. He's just super charming. He's like, do you want to go? I can show you around. Let's go for a swim. Like, he plays her dad in the play.
So is he like significantly older than her?
He's probably 3 or 4 years older.
Oh, okay. Stage makeup.
Yeah. And they hit it off. They go swimming. Yada, yada, yada. And ... Okay.
And now we have Emily.
Yes.
Really?
No.
Oh. You got me that time. The first time you didn't, but that time you got me.
No, so they sleep together. They become like a thing. Flash forward to her with the girls. It's like at night and she's just talking to Joe. He's like, it's so funny you're finally telling them this story. He's like, do they know about Palace and Sebastian? And like he's naming all these characters that we haven't heard of yet.
Who's Joe?
Joe is her husband.
I know, but like, when are we gonna meet Joe?
Yes, I know. So you're like, how does he know so much? Like he's acting like he actually knows
like he was
them.
there.
Yes. So you don't know that yet. The girls come home, and the next morning, Maisie tells Nell and Laura, hey, like, I was over at Emily's little place, because there's a small cottage on the property that Emily now stays at, and Maisie was over there last night with Emily and her boyfriend, Ben, who we love Ben, and she's like, yeah, we were playing Pictionary, and it just kind of slipped out that they're basically engaged, like, and Laura's like, what? Like, hurt that she didn't know that. And Maisie's like, I sort of thought you knew, or I figured you'd know, or I don't know how to address it with her, you know how she is, like, I don't know how to bring it up. So, finds out that they are engaged, and Emily's like, no, I just don't want to make it a big deal. I don't know when a wedding's happening, like, I'm overwhelmed, blah. And it ends up coming out that they also are planning on not having children. She's like, I don't know if I can have kids, but I don't want kids. I think the world is going to crap, and I do not want to bring children into this world.
And she's not wrong.
Yeah. So
she might be onto something.
Especially like, yeah, with how their land is so influenced by climate and everything. She's like, it is 1000% we're having milder winters. The trees aren't doing as well. She's like, I do not know what the future holds at all. I'm not bringing kids into this. Joe's kind of like shocked and upset by that. She has a lovely moment with Laura on the beach, and she's like, I just don't want to be a bride. I'm just like overwhelmed. Okay. Now flashing back to her being 24 years old, Tom Lake. Wakes up with Duke. He's still very sweet to her, just really lovely. And they go to their first rehearsal. Everyone thinks she's amazing. They're so grateful she's here. She's kind of like replacing a Emily that just kind of bailed. Nelson is the director. He's such a nice guy. Everyone seems pretty good. The guy, they call him Uncle Wallace. He's like a total drunk, but he's like a bigger star that people come and see the play for. And her understudy is a girl called Palace. And she is beautiful black girl, beautiful dancer. Like, Laura just like falls in love with her. She's just like, you're so amazing, like, be my friend type thing. So they become fast friends and are swimming, and they swim every day in the lake. Like, it's just like this lovely thing. Duke is who they call him. They don't call him Peter, they call him Duke. So Duke has an older brother named Sebastian who works a couple hours away or so and likes to come visit him every once in a while. So Sebastian shows up, and people call him Saint Sebastian. Like, he is such a good guy. Like, he's kind of the straight-laced, responsible. He teaches tennis, and I think he's a school teacher too. But everyone loves Sebastian. Duke is like the wild brother. Like, oh, the door's locked. Oh, I'm just gonna punch through it. And they're like, dude, it wasn't locked. It was just stuck. Like, he just kind of does crazy
so
things.
Impulsive.
Yes. He smokes all the time. He, like, does handstands all the time. Like,
what a weird flex.
So, he is just... Sebastian shows up and is always like, what are you gonna do, bro? Like, how do I have to handle
Fix
your
it,
crap?
yeah.
So, Sebastian and Palace kind of get together. Laura and Duke are together. It's lovely foursome, besties, happy fun times. Flash forward, everyone's excited that Emily and Ben are engaged, but there's this note of like, it kind of ended on a bummer and we were upset and the no babies thing. So everyone wakes up to the next morning and Joe says, we are throwing off the day, we're going to the beach. Like, pack sandwiches, pack lunches, and they're like, haha, Dad, we never take the day off. There's so much work to do. He's like, nope, I'm going to finish a few things in the barn. You guys go down. We're going to have a happy, lovely day.
What's going to happen?
So
I don't trust it.
That's the thing about this book is that it was not dun dun dun. Like, it was like just really beautiful. Like, a lot of really beautiful moments and a lot of really real heartbreaking moments. But it wasn't like, what's around the next corner type thing. Like, anyways, that's what I love about it too. So they go down to the beach, they take a swim, it kind of like resets them all, and Joe shows up and they're all like, what's like the best day of your life? Like, and they ask their mom that. And Laura's like, you, and you. Like, those were the best days of my life. Like, having you, raising you. They're like, no. Like, what is, like, the best day of your life pre-us, not motherhood? And she's like, well, okay. So she flashes back to 24, the four of them. Nelson, the director of the show, is leaving. So they kind of do this thing where I direct you. Once we open the show, I kind of go and direct another show somewhere else. Like, I'm leaving. So Nelson tells her, yeah, my aunt and uncle, because they're in Michigan, my aunt and uncle own this cherry farm, and I need to go help them with their books. Like their financial books. Not the bookshelves. I don't know why I had to clarify that.
I follow.
Okay. So he's like,
it would have been insane if you were like, not like the financial books, but like bookshelf books. Then I would have been like, what is happening?
So he's like, yeah, I told them I would come up after the show and then I'll move on to other things. But
so is Nelson Joe?
You'll see. So Nelson says, you're welcome to come up. It's a beautiful farm. Like, they'd love to meet you and love to show it to you. She's like, great. And so Duke's like, well, we'll come, because he's Duke. And she's like, he doesn't know you're coming, because he already left. He's like, no, it's fine. Sebastian will drive. It'll be good. So Duke, Palace, Sebastian, Laura get in the car. So they drive up there. Gorgeous cherry farm. Like, they passed several on the way there. Like, it's her first introduction to, like, oh my gosh, this place is beautiful. They all love it, and they all fall in love. The aunt and uncle of Nelson are named Ken and Maisie.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So, Ken and Maisie own the farm. They're so welcoming. They're like, yeah, come on in, more the merrier. Nelson shows them around the farm, and...
Was Nelson like, bro, what are you doing here?
He was fine, yeah, he was totally fine. They just have a very good day. She finds out that Nelson's first name is Joe.
Okay.
Like you predicted.
Okay.
So that's why Maisie is named Maisie after their aunt Maisie, because she's so sweet and nice. Joe, during this conversation, he's like, yeah, your mom brought 3 other people on our date to the farm. And she's like, it was not a date. You never said that it was a date. And you knew that I was with Duke. He's like, yeah, I knew you were with Duke, but I was kind of putting feelers out. Like, is she really with Duke? I don't know. He just keeps talking like, yeah, no one has loved this place the way Duke loved it. Like, he was obsessed with everything that I showed you guys and stuff like that. So you really find out that Joe knows them very well and knows the story and is cute.
So why hasn't Duke come back to visit and made the girls' dreams come true? Oh,
Okay.
shoot.
So then, at the same time, they are performing Our Town, the show where she plays Emily. There's a new show in production, and she gets cast in a role, and that show is called Food for Love. And it is a weird show. And
Same place?
yes. Duke is in that one as well, along with 2 other people. And she just starts realizing, like, I really am not that good of an actress. Like, I really can only play the role of Emily. Like, that's where I'm comfortable. She's really does not feel, is not jiving with this other character at all. There's supposed to be a whole bottle of tequila that they drink throughout the show, and it has to be empty at the end of the show. Well, Duke says, let's obviously use real tequila. And she's not a big drinker, and so it's just like this drama of a play that she doesn't really like, and she doesn't really like this side of Duke. And in Our Town, the Papa Wallace, whatever his name is, Uncle Wallace, who is the drunk, do you remember me telling about him? He really struggles through this particular show and ends up having like a medical episode, like really bad, as soon as the curtain goes down. And he is out of it, like down for the count. I think he passes away like at the hospital later on, or like a year later or something like that. But
was it because of the tequila?
She gets his room once he is no longer there, and the freezer is like full of vodka. Like he just drinks and drinks and drinks. So he is no longer in the show. They call Joe Nelson to say, hey, we know you're only a little bit ways out of here. We know you're still in Michigan. Can you please finish the show and play his part? Play the stage manager. Joe says yes. So Joe is back there playing that part. So she's like happy to see him. But yeah. Then,
and does he say throw out the tequila, use water?
No, because that's the other show. He's not involved with the other show, the For the Love or whatever.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
I don't know what it was called, but he's not involved in that one. Time passes. She's struggling with the play. Duke is drunk from rehearsals or something and is being an idiot, but Sebastian's like, well, let's just go play tennis. Sebastian's there for the weekend. Palace is resting her ankle because she's a dancer. They decide to play tennis. Sebastian says, Laura, come play tennis. I know you're pretty good. She has an accident and trips and falls and ruptures her Achilles.
Whoa.
Like, it's bad. That hurts so bad, and is like, you're not going to walk for 6 weeks at least. Like, so Sebastian is lovely, picks her up, takes her to the hospital because Duke is drunk. She has surgery, all of that. While she's in the hospital, Ripley, do you remember Ripley? He was the director of her movie she did.
Oh, okay.
He calls her and is like, hey kid, the show's on. Like, we're making this movie. It's just about, like, gonna come out. I need you to, in LA, to do publicity and talk shows and all this stuff. Because, like, the editor of the movie loved you and, like, kind of made you more of the star than even that other diva lady. She's like, no, I don't think I'm doing acting anymore. I'm not good at anything other than this Emily part. Like, I'm just not gonna do it. I'm sorry. He's like, all right, no, you're gonna do it. But she kind of like, she's like, I just had surgery. I can't even walk. Yeah, bye. Sebastian comes and picks her up from the hospital, takes her back. Palace has to go on as her understudy. She is both her understudy in Our Town, the first play where she plays Emily, and then she's the understudy in this weird other play where they drink and stuff. In the other play, I forgot to mention this, Duke's part and Laura's part are like lovers, like very much together.
So Duke and Palace end up together.
So
and they ...
Why do you keep telling my story? You're too good at knowing stories.
Sorry, I guess I just read a lot.
So Sebastian says we're gonna go see her as Emily, and we're gonna go see her in this new play. It's like their opening night. So they go see her as Emily. She does fantastic. Next night, they go see them in this new play, and it is so obvious that they are sleeping together, and so obvious that it's more than just the play.
Sleeping together pre-accident or post-accident?
I think post.
Okay. So like he cheated on her, but not
because he never broke up with her.
But not since she became. He didn't date her while she was the understudy.
I don't think so.
Okay.
It didn't seem like it.
Not that it justifies anything.
But he waited until her foot was broken.
Yeah.
So Sebastian is so upset and he just leaves. And she can't walk. So she just kind of wobbles her way back to her room. And she hears from gossip the next day or something that Sebastian came back into their green room, punched out Duke, and big ol' argument. Him and Palace are done. Like, their little foursome is done. Laura just kind of breaks down. She cries about betrayal of Duke, betrayal of Palace. So sad for Sebastian. She knows she's done with acting. She feels like she can't do anything else but play Emily. She doesn't know where to go from here. Then Ripley shows up. The freaking director of this movie shows up and is like, don't care if you can't walk, I'm here. Duke called me and told me what happened. And
how does he know Duke?
He doesn't. Duke knows about her movie, and Duke hasn't talked to her at all since she was injured. He didn't come to the hospital, he didn't do anything. She's like, well, I know Duke called you because he knew you would come out here and see his show if you were out here. She's like, so go see his show. I'll come to LA with you tomorrow. And he sees his show. He's like, who's this Duke kid? He's like, see your boyfriend? She's like, yes. He's like, it's not good there? She's like, no. He's like, I may have a part for him. She's like, I know. She's like, I know he's a good actor. They fly back out to LA. She stays in like his pool house, kind of recovering. Goes on talk shows, like sees her movie, is really proud of it. But she knows that she's done with acting.
Has her kids seen this movie?
Yeah.
I actually feel like it's very mature of Laura to be like, yeah, go see Duke, yeah, go support him. Because I feel like it's more likely that a 20-year-old who's been hurt by their boyfriend would be like,
screw him.
Yeah, exactly. Like, no, I'm going to sabotage his career like he sabotaged mine.
Yeah. So she decides after the whole movie is done and everything to go back and be with her grandma. So she lives with her grandma until she passes away. I cried at the end of this book, yeah, for sure, because of that whole part. Her grandmother's name is Nell.
Oh, okay.
So Emily from the play, Maisie, Joe's aunt, and then Nell, her grandmother. Really sweet, buries her grandmother, super close with her, decides to get a job in sewing, kind of on Broadway in New York. Decides to go for that. Joe shows up to direct a show and is like, oh my gosh, you're here. Like, and flash forward to the girls, they're like, you knew then that you loved her, huh? He's like, absolutely, I totally loved her then.
And neither of them knew that they were going to end up in New York together.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And like back then, it's not like, hey, I'm in New York on social media. Like, you just run into people, and if you don't have their number, you cannot contact them, you know what I mean? So she's in New York on Broadway, working. Duke's acting career is getting bigger. He's doing children's movies and things like that. Flash forward, she's telling the girls Duke actually came to visit the farm when Emily was 4, Maisie was 2, and she was pregnant with Nell. And she gets a knock on the door. She always gets knocks on the door from neighbors and everything. She opens it. She's like, what are you doing here? And he's like, what are you doing here? Like, I remember this farm from when we came to visit. Like, this is like my happy place. Like, I remember this day, and I was gonna come like buy this farm because he's making more money. And she's like, I live here. He's like, you married Joe? And I was like, yes. So it's this big. I am Laura.
You just took on her identity.
So she's like, yeah, come on in. This is my daughter Emily. He like picks her up and is all cute with her, and they go see Joe, and Joe's like, hey, and he's like, I'm not going to sell you the farm. Like, I'd never sell this place, but you're welcome to visit from time to time, I guess. Like, this is a little weird. Flashback to, I don't know where she was at this point. I think she's still in New York. But Duke calls her and is like, he's basically in like this rehab center.
Good. He needs it.
So he's in this rehab place. This is the part of the book where I'm like, just take this out. I don't necessarily need this. I don't see the necessity for it. But she goes to visit him in the rehab place. And this is the first time she hasn't seen him since Tom Lake at all. And he said, come visit me. She comes, and he's basically like, let's have sex in the bathroom. And she says, okay.
What?
Mm-hmm. She hasn't been with anybody since Tom Lake. It's been like
horny
3 years or something.
Girl.
She's like, there's no condom dispensers in the bathroom, so I guess I'm going on luck. And
I'm pissed.
He sleeps with her. I wouldn't even say sleeps with her. He F's her in the bathroom and is like, Kate, see ya. Thanks for that. Thanks for coming by. And she runs into Sebastian in a parking lot and just like breaks down crying. And he's like, what are you doing here? And she's like, I don't know. He called and I came, and just is kind of like, he was her first love. I'll do anything you say type
and he
thing.
just had a scratch that needed to
yes.
be itched.
So her and Sebastian's just, he's the good brother. He's just the stand-up guy. I think they go to dinner together and they just talk and catch up, and he's like, yeah, I never. No, it's like early 90s, I think. I don't know what they had back then.
This really is like Dirty Dancing.
A little bit. She just talks with Sebastian. Things are really good with him, and she says 6 weeks later, I find out that I'm pregnant, and I use the money that I had saved up from the movie that I still had. The nurse held my hand, and it never says it, but she basically.
Mm-hmm. We know.
And then it just ends there. Like, that's the whole, like, the book doesn't end.
Oh, oh my gosh.
But that little segment of the story just ends there. She says, I never told Joe, and I will never tell the girls. Like, she's like, I just felt gratitude that I was able to do that, and
such a hard choice to make.
Oh, yeah. But, so yeah, I don't know why that was in the story, but it was fine.
Maybe to help you understand why she didn't end up with Duke.
Yeah, maybe. Flash forward, it's 2020. They're like planning Emily's wedding and stuff. Then you come to find out that they found out the real reason she started telling the story is because Duke died. And it was in the news, and they saw it on their phones, and he like drowned in some Caribbean or something like that. Like, he's gone. So that's why they were like, tell us the story of how you were dating him and everything. And it was like big news. He's a big star. So you find out that he's gone, and they're at home. Sebastian comes to the farm in 2020, and Maisie greets him, and she's like, I know exactly who you are. Like, you look like Peter Duke's brother. "You're Sebastian, we've been hearing all about you." And so Laura's so thrilled to see him. He's such a good, sweet man, and it really feels like her friend. And he says, "I don't know if you knew this, but Duke came to Ken and Maisie when they were still living here and said, 'I want to buy your farm.' And they said, 'No, we won't sell you our farm.' He's like, 'Can I buy a plot in the cemetery, in your family cemetery? They have this beautiful cemetery on the property.' And they're like, 'Sure.' And he gave them this huge check that really helped them out and like saved the farm, essentially. So I'm not sure if Joe knew that or not. So Sebastian's like, he's cremated, he won't take up much space, but it said in his will that he wants to be here. And Laura's like, that's fitting, he's welcome to be here. And she's like, and you're welcome to be here because there's enough room for all of us to be here eventually. And so they bury him, they have a little ceremony, it's really sweet.
Sebastian's not married or anything?
It doesn't say.
How does Joe and Laura end up together? I know they reconnected in New York.
Yeah, because it like they just reconnect and they start dating, and then he takes her back to the farm, and they get married there.
Next to history.
Yeah.
Does Sebastian end up with Maisie?
No. I mean, he'd be in his 60s, but she's in her 20s, so probably not.
They would not be the first couple with that age difference.
It ends really happily, just ends there. She's really at peace, and really, there's nothing like cliffhanger or anything like that.
They just bury Duke and then they're done. I hate that it ends with Duke.
It doesn't end with Duke. I think it ends with them, like, yeah, they have a ceremony for Duke, and then they end up talking about other things, and end up start planning the wedding, and
she's just happy with her life.
Yeah.
She never regretted quitting acting.
Nope. She just knew it wasn't for her. She loves this cherry farm, and Joe's a sweetheart, and it's just very, like, I would totally watch this movie or watch this series. I just loved it. I think I'd give it a 4. I don't know if I'd read it again, but I liked it a lot. It's very lovely. I feel like this is ending on a what, but that's kind of what I loved about it. It wasn't like this super grabbing thriller or, oh my gosh, I can't believe that happened. It was very real life. And then she just kind of talks about how there's so much joy in the mundane, and there's joy in the heartbreak of it all, and she's just happy.
Good read.
Very good read.
I'm glad you read it, so I don't have to.
You're welcome. Thanks. But also, you should read it and have Meryl Streep read it for you.